In this video, we're going to take a look at grouping objects, which serves as a great way not just to stay organized, but to also facilitate the way in which you work with the scene objects that you've created. As we start out, it's important to know that 3ds Max actually offers a handful of different ways to gather objects together. Some of those consolidating techniques more permanent than others. Grouping should be the gathering method you choose when wanting to manipulate several objects as one entire entity, but at the same time still have the ability to select and edit those individual pieces as separate parts. I'll be using a file named Grouping Objects to show you how the process works. You can find it in the Working Files folder. Let's begin by first opening up our Select by Name list and checking out our objects. You can do that using the H keyboard shortcut. As you can see, there's 5 individual objects currently on the screen, and they've been given names to make it easy to identify each. As individual objects, each can be easily transformed. Here, I'll move my plate, scale my glass, then rotate the table. Over in the command panel on the right, let's activate the Modify column. As you select each object, at the top of the Modify column, notice how the lettering on each of the names is in regular case text. And that's what we've been seeing all along. Why don't we play out a little scenario here? Let's say that we're planning on doing a little redesigning of the layout of our room in which these objects reside. Maybe wanting to move the table and everything on it to another location. Now you could always just select the objects one by one and move them into their new position, but possibly having to do that over and over again as you decide the final layout of your room would be both time-consuming and a bunch of extra steps. Here's where grouping things together could help out. In the front view, draw a window selection around all the objects. Now in the pull-down menus over on the left, choose Group, then the command Group. Okay, now this is going to give us an opportunity to rename our group. Let's label this Table. If you now left-click away, deselecting the objects, you'll notice that in wireframe mode, each of the objects has maintained its original wireframe color, which means that at least in some way, they're all still individual objects. Let's see what happens though if we attempt to make a selection. Clicking on any of the objects selects them all, illustrating the fact that things have all now been grouped together. Back in the modifier stack, look at the name of the group. Now we've got our lettering in boldface. If ever working on the file while in the modifier stack and looking at the name, if that name is bold-faced, you know you're working on a group. Let's also look at the way things are displayed in the Select by Name list. Type H again. Now you see we have a single entry, the name of our group, Table. Having been grouped together, all of our objects can now be manipulated as a single entity. Let's take our viewport in the lower right-hand corner full screen. We can now move, rotate, or scale the entire group. Okay, so now we have our group. But hold on, earlier I was mentioning something about still being able to work on the individual objects. To do that, the group's going to have to be temporarily opened. With the group selection, let's go back to the group pull-down menu on the left-hand side of the interface. This time, we'll select the command Open. When a group is opened, you'll see a pink cage or bounding box around the objects in the group. With things opened, let's go back in the Select by Name list and see how things are listed. Again, you can type H. Now, even though grouped together, all the individual object names display. And in that, you can now work on the individual objects, doing what's necessary. You know, a group might make more sense if you kind of think of it like a piece of luggage that contains, let's say, several individual articles of clothing. When the luggage is closed, you can easily pick it up and everything inside it goes along for the ride. But when the luggage is opened, you'll be able to freely access whatever's in the luggage. That's the same way a group works. Think about this as it pertains to that luggage. Once it's opened and you do whatever you need to do inside, when you're done, you close it back up before moving on, right? Well, same thing goes for a group. It doesn't make much sense to make a group, then leave it open when wanting to control it as a group. So when the inside work is done, you want to close that baby back up. To do so, you must either first select the bounding box or any individual object in the group. Then, back in the pull-down menu, you'll choose Close. Also be aware that you can add something into an already existing group. Right-click on the screen and in the upper right-hand square choose Unhide All. There's a little remote that I also built for the file. If you open up your Select by Name list, you'll notice now you have not just the group name, but also the name of the remote. Here's what you want to do to add the remote into the table group. You'll first need to select it. Then, up in the pull-down menu, you'll choose the command Attach. Now Mac simply wants to know what specific group you'd like to add the remote into. You can now click on any of the other objects other than the remote. That groups it all together and you're ready to go. Back in the Select by Name list, we're back to only displaying the group name. What about taking something out of a group? How's that done? Well, first, the group has to be opened. Let's do that. You'll then simply want to select the object you want to remove from the group. In this case, I'll click on the green glass. With that object now selected, back in the Group pull-down menu, we'll choose Detach. We can now move the glass around the scene as an individual object. Now, once you've removed whatever you want to take out of the group, make sure to close the group back up. And lastly, if you're no longer needing to have things grouped together, those connections can be severed by simply using the Ungroup command. So that's what you need to know about grouping. It's a great way to gather things up, but still have the ability of working on the individual pieces. Make sure to consider using the technique on all your upcoming projects.